My son-in-law's voice drifted up from the basement, cold and clinical. Subject. He was calling my daughter. A subject? I stood frozen at the top of the stairs, my entire body trembling. The photographs covering the basement walls. Timestamps on every single one, surveillance equipment gleaming in the dim light. Mother-in-law, are you down there? Footsteps. He was coming. There was nowhere to hide. What I discovered in that basement would shatter everything I thought I knew about my daughter's perfect marriage. Hello, my name is Catherine Brooks, and I'm 65 years old. Living in San Francisco. Well, I suppose I should say I was living alone in San Francisco. Until a year ago, I spent 32 years as an elementary school teacher at Lincoln Elementary. In the Richmond district, the kind of teacher who remembered every student's name. Who kept boxes of tissues and granola bars in her desk drawer? Who stayed late for parent conferences even when my feet ached? When I retired 3 years ago, I thought I'd finally have time for myself. Time to read all those novels stacked on my nightstand. Time to take watercolor classes at the community center. Time to just breathe. But then David died, my husband of 40 years. Had a massive heart attack while gardening in our tiny backyard. One moment he was pruning the rosebushes he'd cultivated for decades, the next he was gone. The doctors said it was quick, painless. That was supposed to comfort me. It didn't. The year after David's death was the loneliest of my life. Our modest Victorian house in the Sunset District felt enormous and empty. Every room echoed with memories. His reading glasses still sat on the coffee table. His coffee mug, the one with the faded, "World's Best Dad" print that Sarah had given him 20 years ago, remained in the cabinet where he'd left it. Sarah, my only daughter, she called me every day that year, sometimes twice a day. I could hear the worry in her voice, even when she tried to hide it behind cheerful questions about what I'd eaten for lunch, or whether I'd gone for my morning walk. Mom, you sound tired. Are you sleeping okay? I'm fine, honey. Really, I wasn't fine. But what mother admits that to her daughter? Then came the proposal. It was a Sunday afternoon, and Sarah had driven over with 8-year-old Emily. My granddaughter burst through the door, the way she always did, all boundless energy and gap-toothed smiles. Grandma, guess what? We might be neighbors. Sarah followed behind, carrying a bakery box from that fancy patisserie on Irving Street. Mom, can we talk? We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Sarah had done her homework as a child, where David and I had shared thousands of meals. Emily was already in the living room, absorbed in whatever game kids play on their tablets these days. We bought a new house, Sarah said, pulling out her phone to show me photos. It's in Noe Valley, a townhouse, 4 levels, 5 bedrooms. Honestly, it's too big for just the 3 of us. I looked at the photos. It was beautiful, modern, everything our old Victorian wasn't. That's wonderful, honey. You and Ryan have done so well for yourselves. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Mom, I want you to live with us. The words hung in the air between us. The house is huge, she continued quickly. You'd have the entire 3rd floor to yourself. Your own bedroom, your own bathroom, even a little sitting area. And Emily would love having you around. With my shifts and Ryan's consulting work, it would be perfect. You could help with Emily, and I wouldn't worry about you being alone in this big house. I looked around our kitchen, at the growth chart penciled on the doorframe, where we'd measured Sarah every birthday, at the crack in the ceiling that David had always meant to fix, at the morning light streaming through the window, the same light that had greeted me for decades. I don't know, Sarah. This is my home. I know, Mom. But Dad's gone, and you're here all alone. Please. Just think about it. Emily's voice called from the other room. Grandma, are you coming to live with us? Please say yes. How do you say no to that? 2 months later, I was moving into the Noe Valley townhouse. Sarah and Ryan had insisted on hiring movers, but I'd packed everything myself. Each box was a journey through my life. Wedding photos, Sarah's baby clothes, David's collection of mystery novels, his gardening tools that no one would ever use again. The townhouse was stunning, all clean lines and hardwood floors, and floor-to-ceiling windows that let in floods of California sunshine. My 3rd floor suite was twice the size of my old bedroom. Sarah had even hung some of my favorite paintings on the walls. "Welcome home, Mom," she said, hugging me tight. Ryan was there too, carrying boxes up the stairs despite my protests. "Catherine, please, let me help your family now." Ryan Hayes, my son-in-law of 3 years. He was handsome in that polished, professional way. Always clean-shaven, always dressed in crisp button-down shirts. Even when working from home. 36 years old, an IT consultant for tech companies around the Bay Area. He spoke in that careful, measured tone that made everything sound reasonable and thought out. More importantly, he seemed to love Sarah. Really love her. I'd watched him with her over the past 3 years. The way he'd bring her coffee in the morning, exactly how she liked it. The way he'd rub her shoulders after a difficult shift at the hospital. The way he'd look at her when she was talking, like she was the only person in the room. And with Emily, he was a natural father. He'd married Sarah when Emily was 5. But you'd never know Emily wasn't his biological daughter. He went to every school play, every soccer game. He helped with homework and read bedtime stories with different voices for each character. Ryan's one of the good ones. My friend Dorothy had said when Sarah first introduced him. "Hold on to that one, Sarah." Sarah had laughed. "That's the plan, Mom." The first month in the new house was an adjustment. I'd wake up disoriented, forgetting where I was. The sounds were different. The light came through the windows at different angles. But gradually, it started to feel like home. Emily was the best part. She'd bound up to my floor after school, backpack bouncing, ready to tell me every detail of her day. "Grandma, guess what happened in science class today?" "What, sweetheart?" "We dissected owl pellets. It was so gross but also so cool." I'd make her snacks, apple slices with peanut butter, cheese and crackers, and listen to her chatter about her friends, her teachers. Her latest obsession with marine biology. Sarah worked long shifts at San Francisco General's emergency room. 3 12-hour shifts a week, often overnight. She'd come home exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, still in her scrubs. "How was it?" I'd ask, already knowing the answer from her face. "Rough. We lost a teenager tonight. Motorcycle accident." I'd make her tea and sit with her while she decompressed, the way David used to do for me after particularly difficult parent-teacher conferences. Ryan's schedule was more flexible. He worked from home most days, taking conference calls in his home office, typing away on his laptop at the kitchen table. He'd often be the one to pick Emily up from school when Sarah and I weren't available. It seemed perfect, almost too perfect. That's when I started noticing the small things. It began about 6 weeks after I'd moved in. Sarah had left for a night shift around 6 p.m. Emily was at a sleepover at her friend Sophia's house. It was just Ryan and me in that big house. I was in the kitchen making tea when I heard it. The distinctive sound of the basement door opening, then closing. Footsteps on the stairs, heading down. The basement. Ryan had claimed it as his home office when they'd first moved in. "I need a quiet space for client calls," he'd explained. "The acoustics down there are perfect." It made sense. The man worked from home. He needed a dedicated workspace. But something felt off about the timing. He only ever went down there when Sarah was gone and Emily wasn't home. Over the next few weeks, I started paying attention. Every time Sarah left for the hospital, Ryan would wait exactly 15 minutes. Then head to the basement. Every single time, I told myself I was being paranoid. This was what grief did to people, made them suspicious and strange. Ryan was just working, that's all. But then there were the other things. The way he'd watch Sarah get ready in the morning. Not in the loving, appreciative way David used to watch me. This was different, observant, clinical. The way his eyes would follow her purse when she set it down. The way he'd check his phone the moment she left the house. "Grandma, why does Dad always go to the basement when Mom's not here?" Emily's question, asked so innocently one afternoon while we were making cookies, made my blood run cold. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "He only goes down there when Mom's at work. And he told me not to bother him when he's down there. He said it's private. Maybe he's just working, honey." "Maybe." Emily shrugged, already moving on to the next topic. "Can we use chocolate chips and M&Ms in the cookies?" But I couldn't move on. That night, after Emily was in bed and Sarah was at the hospital, I sat in my suite staring at the floor. Below me, I could hear the faint sound of Ryan's footsteps. He was in the basement again. What was he doing down there? The old teacher instincts kicked in. The same instincts that had helped me spot when a student was being bullied. When something was wrong at home, when a child was hiding something. Something was wrong here. I could feel it in my bones. I thought about David, about what he would say if he were here. Trust your gut, Kath. You've got good instincts. My gut was screaming now. The next morning, I waited until Ryan went out for his morning run. He was religious about it, every day at 7 a.m., gone for exactly 45 minutes. Sarah was still asleep after her night shift, and Emily was getting ready for school. I went down to the basement. My hand trembled on the doorknob. This was wrong, wasn't it? Invading someone's privacy? But this was my daughter's house. My granddaughter's safety. I turned the knob. Locked. The basement door was locked. Who locks a home office? I stood there, staring at that locked door, my heart pounding in my chest. Every instinct I had was telling me that something was deeply, terribly wrong. But I had no proof. Just suspicions and a locked door. That's when I decided I would find out what Ryan Hayes was hiding in that basement. Whatever it took. For Sarah, for Emily, for the truth. The locked basement door haunted me for 3 days. I'd walk past it multiple times a day, always pausing, always listening. Sometimes I'd hear Ryan's voice, muffled through the heavy door, talking on the phone. His tone was always the same, professional, detached, nothing like the warm voice he used with Emily or Sarah. I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. Ryan was entitled to privacy. Maybe he dealt with confidential client information. Maybe the lock was just a precaution. But Emily's words kept echoing in my mind. He only goes down there when mom's not here. On Thursday afternoon, I was folding laundry in my suite when I heard Sarah's voice downstairs, sharp with frustration. Ryan, have you seen my planner? The burgundy one? No, sorry. Did you check your car? I've checked everywhere. I swear I left it on the kitchen counter this morning. There was a pause, then Ryan's voice again, perfectly calm. Maybe you left it at the hospital? Maybe, Sarah sighed. I'm losing my mind. But I'd seen that planner on the counter this morning. I'd noticed it specifically because Sarah had been scribbling in it over breakfast, muttering about her schedule. And when I'd come down for lunch, it was gone. That evening, Sarah left for her night shift at 5:45 p.m. Emily was already at her weekly dance class. Ryan would pick her up at 7:30. I was alone in the house with him. I stayed in my suite, door slightly ajar, listening. 6:00 p.m. Right on schedule. I heard the basement door open and close. My heart pounded. This was my chance. Maybe the only chance I'd get. I crept down the stairs, careful to avoid the third step that creaked. The house was quiet except for the distant hum of traffic outside and the even more distant sound of typing? No, clicking, like a camera shutter. I reached the basement door, put my ear against it. Yes, I'm looking at the images now. Ryan's voice, barely audible. She was at the hospital cafe at 2:47 p.m. Met with 2 female colleagues. Conversation appeared casual. No male contacts today. My blood turned to ice. He was talking about Sarah. He had to be. Pattern remains consistent with previous weeks, Ryan continued. No deviations, no suspicious behavior. Subject maintains regular schedule. Subject, my daughter was a subject. The typing sounds resumed. I stood there, frozen, my hand on the doorknob. Should I confront him? But what would I say? I was eavesdropping outside a locked door. Then I heard it, Ryan's footsteps, heading toward the stairs. Toward me. Panic seized me. I bolted back up the stairs as quietly as I could, nearly tripping on the second-floor landing. I made it to my suite just as I heard the basement door open below. I closed my door softly and leaned against it, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. What had I just heard? That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Ryan's words over and over. Subject maintains regular schedule. No male contacts today. Images. By morning, I'd made a decision. I needed help. I couldn't do this alone, and I certainly couldn't go to Sarah without proof. She'd think I was paranoid, grief-stricken, imagining things. I needed someone I could trust. Someone with experience in these matters. Eleanor Chen had been my colleague for 15 years at Lincoln Elementary. She'd taught 6th grade while I had 3rd, and we'd bonded over terrible staff meeting coffee and a shared love of mystery novels. But Eleanor had a past before teaching. She'd spent a decade as an investigative journalist for the San Francisco Chronicle, covering everything from city corruption to organized crime. She'd retired the same year I did, and now lived in a cozy apartment in the Castro with her partner, Susan, and 3 enormous cats. I called her Friday morning. "Catherine, it's been too long. How are you settling into the new place?" "Eleanor, I need your help. Can I come over today?" There was a pause. Eleanor had always been good at reading between the lines. "Of course. Come for lunch. I'll make us something." 2 hours later, I sat in Eleanor's sunny kitchen, a mug of green tea growing cold in my hands, and told her everything. The locked door, Ryan's suspicious behavior, the overheard phone conversation, Sarah's missing planner. Eleanor listened without interrupting, her sharp eyes never leaving my face. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You think he's surveilling her?" "I don't know what to think. That's why I'm here." Eleanor stood up and walked to her bookshelf, pulling down a worn notebook. "Old habits," she said, opening it. "I still keep notes on everything." She sat back down, pen poised. "Tell me about Ryan. How did he and Sarah meet?" "At a tech conference 3 years ago. Sarah was there representing the hospital's new patient portal system. Ryan was consulting on the project. And they got married how fast?" 6 months after they met." Eleanor's eyebrow rose. "Quick. I thought it was romantic at the time. They seemed so in love." "What do you know about his background? Family? Previous relationships?" I realized, with a sinking feeling, that I knew almost nothing. "He said his parents died when he was in college. Car accident. He's an only child. No family really. No one at the wedding from his side?" I thought back to the small ceremony at City Hall. A few colleagues. A couple of friends. But no family. Eleanor was writing rapidly. "And his work? IT consulting. That's vague. What kind of consulting exactly?" I don't actually know. Security systems, I think? Database management? He travels sometimes for clients, but mostly works from home." "Catherine." Eleanor put down her pen and looked at me seriously. "You need to get into that basement. It's locked. Then we get creative." She stood up and walked to another bookshelf, this time pulling down what looked like an old toolkit. "I did a story once on locksmiths. Learned a few tricks." She opened the kit, revealing various small tools I couldn't identify. "Eleanor, I can't break into my son-in-law's office." "You're not breaking in. You're checking on your daughter's safety. There's a difference." She selected a few tools and put them in a small pouch. "When's your next opportunity?" "Ryan has a client meeting downtown on Monday. In person. He mentioned it last night. He'll be gone from 9 to noon." "Perfect." Eleanor handed me the pouch. "These are basic lock picks. The basement probably just has a standard interior lock. Easy to open if you know what you're doing." "I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm coming with you." I stared at her. "Eleanor." "Catherine, if what you're describing is real, your daughter could be in danger. At minimum, she deserves to know what her husband is doing. And if you're wrong, if there's an innocent explanation, then we apologize and move on. But we need to know." She was right. I knew she was right. "Monday morning," I said. 9:15. Sarah will be sleeping after her night shift. Emily will be at school. I'll be there." The weekend crawled by. I tried to act normal, tried not to stare at Ryan every time he spoke. On Saturday, we had a family dinner, Sarah's night off. Ryan grilled salmon on the back patio while Emily showed me her latest art project and Sarah told stories from the It looked perfect. It felt perfect. Was I crazy? Was grief making me paranoid and suspicious? But then I caught it. A brief moment when Sarah laughed at something Emily said, throwing her head back, genuinely joyful. And Ryan's face for just a second, his expression wasn't warm or loving. It was observant, analytical, like he was cataloging her reaction. Then the moment passed, and he was smiling again, the perfect husband. I wasn't crazy. Monday morning arrived with gray skies and the threat of rain. Ryan left at 8:45, briefcase in hand, kissing Sarah goodbye even though she was half asleep. "I'll be back around noon. Text me if you need anything." Sarah mumbled, already drifting back to sleep. Emily's school bus picked her up at 8:20. By 9:00, the house was quiet except for the soft sound of Sarah's breathing from her bedroom. The doorbell rang at 9:12. Eleanor stood on the porch, wearing dark jeans and a black jacket, looking every bit the investigative journalist she'd once been. "Ready?" she whispered. I nodded, though my hands were shaking. We descended the stairs to the basement level quietly. The door loomed before us, still locked, still keeping its secrets. Eleanor examined the lock, then selected 2 tools from her pouch. Standard pin tumbler. This should take about 30 seconds. It took 45, but the lock clicked open. Eleanor looked at me. Last chance to back out. "Open it." She turned the handle. The door swung inward. We stepped into the basement, and my entire world tilted on its axis. The space was exactly as Sarah had described months ago when they'd bought the house finished, with recessed lighting. Carpeted floor, plenty of room for a home office. But this wasn't an office. This was a surveillance center. One entire wall was covered in photographs. Hundreds of them. All of Sarah. Sarah leaving the house. Sarah at the hospital. Sarah at the grocery store. Sarah meeting friends at a cafe. Every single photo had a date and time stamp printed below it. October 3, 2024, 7:42 a.m. Subject departing residence. October 3, 2024, 12:15 p.m. Subject at hospital cafeteria. October 3, 2024, 6:30 p.m. Subject meeting unknown female at Pete's Coffee, Market Street. "Oh my God," Eleanor breathed beside me. But I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I could only stare at this shrine of surveillance, this monument to obsession. On the desk sat 3 computer monitors. File cabinets lined another wall. A telephoto camera lens rested on a shelf. Professional surveillance equipment that must have cost thousands of dollars. Eleanor moved to the desk, pulling on a pair of gloves she'd apparently thought to bring. She touched the mouse, and the center monitor sprang to life. A document was open. A report. Surveillance target Sarah Brennan Hayes. Client redacted. Date range October 14 to 20, 2024. Summary subject maintains consistent routine. No deviation from established patterns. No contact with unknown males. No evidence of extramarital relationships. Family interactions appear normal. Subject's work schedule remains predictable. Eleanor scrolled down. There were dozens of these reports. Months of them. "Catherine," Eleanor said quietly. "Your son-in-law isn't an IT consultant. Or at least, that's not all he is." She clicked on another folder. Documents appeared. Professional licenses. Business registrations. Ryan Hayes, licensed private investigator, State of California. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the floor, my vision swimming. "He's been investigating her," I whispered. "For months. Maybe years. The question is why." Eleanor kept clicking through files. "Who hired him? Who's the client?" She opened another folder, and suddenly the monitor filled with what looked like a contract. Legal documents. A name jumped out from the page. Client Patricia Morrison. Eleanor and I looked at each other. "Do you know that name?" she asked. I shook my head. "Never heard it before." Eleanor pulled out her phone and started typing. "Let me see what I can find." While she searched, I forced myself to stand. To look more closely at the photographs on the wall. The earliest ones were dated 3 years ago. Right around when Sarah and Ryan met. 3 years. Their entire relationship. Their marriage. Emily calling him Dad. All of it built on surveillance. On lies. "Catherine." Eleanor's voice was tight. "Patricia Morrison. Age 62. Residence Atherton. Wealthy widow. And get this, her son, Marcus Morrison, dated Sarah in college." My heart stopped. Sarah's ex-boyfriend? The one who died in a drunk driving accident. About 5 years ago. Eleanor kept reading from her phone. Sarah dated him for 5 years, broke up with him 2 years before he died. According to this obituary, Marcus struggled with alcohol addiction and gambling problems. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture so disturbing I wanted to close my eyes against it. "Patricia Morrison hired Ryan to investigate Sarah," I said slowly. "To find what?" Evidence of wrongdoing? To blame her for her son's death? Or to destroy her life? Eleanor's face was grim. Some people, when they're grieving, they need someone to blame. And if Sarah broke Marcus's heart, she's been watching my daughter for 3 years. Through him. Eleanor closed the files carefully, exactly as we'd found them. We need to figure out what to do with this information. We can't just. She stopped, froze. I heard it too. A car door slamming outside. Then footsteps on the porch. A key in the front door. Ryan was home early, and we were trapped in his basement. Upstairs. Now. Eleanor grabbed my arm, her voice barely a whisper. We moved fast but quiet, like burglars in reverse. Eleanor pulled the basement door closed behind us just as we heard Ryan's footsteps in the foyer above. Shit, the lock, Eleanor hissed, fumbling with her tools. My heart hammered against my ribs. Above us, Ryan was moving around. Any second now, he'd come down here. He'd know we'd been in his surveillance room. The lock clicked into place. Eleanor shoved the tools into her pocket, and we bolted up the stairs to the main floor. Catherine, you home? Ryan's voice came from the kitchen. We were on the second floor landing, breathing hard, trying to be silent. Just grabbing something I forgot, Ryan called out. Client's assistant sent the wrong address. Meeting got moved across town. I heard him rummaging in the kitchen. Cabinet doors opening and closing. Then footsteps heading toward the basement stairs. Eleanor and I pressed ourselves against the wall of the second floor hallway, holding our breath. The basement door opened, closed, silence. We waited. 30 seconds. A minute. 2 minutes. Then the basement door opened again. Ryan's footsteps came back up. More movement in the kitchen. The jingle of car keys. Catherine, he called again. If you're around, I'll be back around 1. The front door opened and closed. The car engine started. Gravel crunched as he backed out of the driveway. We didn't move until the sound of the engine faded completely. Jesus Christ, Eleanor said, sliding down the wall to sit on the floor. That was too close. My legs were shaking so badly I had to sit too. We sat there on Sarah's second floor landing. 2 retired teachers who'd almost been caught breaking into a private investigator's surveillance center. It would have been funny if it weren't so terrifying. We need to tell Sarah, Eleanor said. Today. Now. Tell her what? That her husband has been spying on her for 3 years? That their entire marriage is a lie? That some grieving mother hired him to destroy her life? Yes, exactly that. I thought about Sarah upstairs, finally getting some sleep after a 12-hour shift dealing with gunshot wounds and overdoses. And all the trauma that flows through an in San Francisco. How could I wake her up to this nightmare? I need proof, I said. More than what we saw. I need documents. Photos. Something concrete. Eleanor pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. She'd taken pictures. Dozens of them. The wall of surveillance photos. The computer monitors with the reports. The contract with Patricia Morrison's name. You have proof, she said gently. I looked at the images on her phone, and my stomach turned. This was real. This was happening. I need to confront him first, I heard myself say. Before I tell Sarah, I need to hear it from him. Why? How long? What the endgame is. Catherine, that's dangerous. We don't know what he's capable of. He's not violent. I've watched him for months. He's calculated, methodical, but not violent. You don't know that. I'm a mother. It's my job to know. Eleanor studied me for a long moment, then sighed. You're going to do this no matter what I say, aren't you? Yes, fine, but I'm staying here with you. And if anything feels wrong, we call the police immediately. We went up to my suite and waited. Eleanor made coffee, strong and black, the way we used to drink it during those endless parent-teacher conference nights. We sat by the window, watching the street, watching for Ryan's car. Sarah woke up around 11. We heard her moving around in her room, then the shower running. 20 minutes later, she appeared in my doorway, hair wet, wearing scrubs for her afternoon shift. Mom? I thought I heard voices. Oh, hi Eleanor. Hi, Sarah. Just dropped by for a visit. Sarah smiled, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. I'd love to catch up, but I have to be at the hospital by noon. Rain check? Of course, dear. Sarah grabbed a protein bar from my mini fridge. I always kept them stocked for her and kissed my cheek. Love you, Mom. Tell Ryan I had to head out early if you see him? Will do. We listened to her footsteps down the stairs, the front door closing, her car starting up and driving away. She has no idea, Eleanor said quietly. Not yet. Ryan's car pulled into the driveway at 1:15 p.m. Emily's school bus wouldn't arrive until 3:30. We had over 2 hours. I went downstairs on shaking legs. Eleanor stayed in my suite backup, she called it, though we both knew if something went wrong, there was little a 67-year-old retired teacher could do. Ryan was in the kitchen, loosening his tie, when I walked in. Hey, Catherine, how was your morning? My heart pounded. This was it, no turning back now. I need to talk to you, Ryan. It's important. Something flickered in his eyes. Wariness. Of course. What's on your mind? Who's Patricia Morrison? All the color drained from his face. For a moment, he just stood there, frozen, his hand still on his tie. What? Patricia Morrison. The woman who hired you to spy on my daughter. Ryan's jaw clenched. His eyes darted toward the basement door, then back to me. Calculating. Processing. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I've seen the basement, the photographs, the surveillance reports, all of it. His expression shifted through several emotions in rapid succession: shock, anger, fear, resignation. Finally, he pulled out one of the kitchen chairs and sat down heavily. How long have you known? Does it matter? I guess not. He rubbed his face with both hands. Jesus Christ. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. I sat down across from him, my hands clasped tight to keep them from shaking. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Ryan was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat, empty of the warmth I'd come to associate with him. I met Patricia Morrison 4 years ago. She came to my agency. I run a small private investigation firm in addition to the IT consulting. Mostly background checks, insurance fraud, that kind of thing. Nothing like this. He gestured vaguely toward the basement. She wanted me to investigate Sarah. Said her son Marcus had dated Sarah, that Sarah had broken his heart, that 2 years later Marcus died in a drunk driving accident. Patricia was convinced Sarah had moved on too quickly, that there must have been someone else. She wanted proof. Proof of what? Of infidelity. Of anything that would prove Sarah was a cheating, heartless woman who'd driven her son to his death. The venom in Patricia Morrison's hatred was breathtaking. A mother's love twisted into something ugly and consuming. How much did she pay you? Ryan's laugh was bitter. $500,000. 100,000 up front. The rest upon completion. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You sold my daughter's life for $500,000. I needed the money. My business was failing. I had debts. Gambling debts, if you want the truth. I was desperate. So you engineered a meeting with Sarah. Started a relationship. Married her. All to spy on her? The plan was to get close to her, find evidence of wrongdoing, and deliver it to Patricia within a year. Then divorce Sarah and move on with my life, financially secure. That's sociopathic. I know. His voice cracked. I know what I am. What I did. Then why hasn't it ended? It's been 3 years, Ryan. 3 years of marriage. Why are you still here? He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw genuine anguish in his eyes. Because there's nothing to find. Sarah is exactly who she appears to be: a good person. A dedicated nurse. A loving mother. She didn't cheat on Marcus. She left him because he was abusive and had a gambling problem. She did nothing wrong. So you could have told Patricia that after a few months and collected your money. I did tell her that. 6 months in. But she didn't believe me. She accused me of being paid off by Sarah, of not doing my job properly. She demanded I dig deeper, stay longer. She kept paying me monthly retainers to continue the surveillance. And you kept taking her money. Yes. He met my eyes. At first. But then. Things changed. What changed? Emily. His voice softened. Emily started calling me Dad. She'd draw pictures of our family in school, with me in them. She'd ask me to come to her school events, to help with her science projects. She trusted me completely. That should have made it worse. It did. It does. Ryan stood up, paced to the window. And then there's Sarah. I thought I could keep it professional, you know? Stay detached. But she's remarkable, Catherine. The way she cares about her patients. The way she puts everyone else first. The way she lights up when Emily does something that makes her proud. I fell in love with her. Really in love. Not the fake relationship I'd engineered, but genuine love. Then why keep up the surveillance? Because I was trapped. If I told Sarah the truth, I'd lose her and Emily. If I told Patricia I was done, she'd expose me anyway. So I started sending Patricia false reports. I'd tell her the investigation was ongoing, that I needed more time, that Sarah was careful, and I had to be patient. Meanwhile, I'd bury any actual surveillance. I stopped following Sarah months ago. Those recent reports? All fabricated. I stared at him, trying to process this. So you've been lying to everyone. Patricia, Sarah, me, Emily. Yes. And you expect us to just, what, forgive you because you fell in love with your Mark? No. Ryan turned to face me. I don't expect forgiveness. I know what I've done is unforgivable. But I need you to know that everything I've shown Sarah and Emily for the past year, that's real. My love for them is real. Built on a foundation of lies. Yes. We sat in silence. Outside, a mail truck rumbled past. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a dog barked. Normal sounds of a normal day in a San Francisco suburb, while inside this kitchen, a family was imploding. Sarah has to know, I said finally. You have to tell her everything. Ryan's face crumbled. She'll leave me. She'll take Emily and I'll never see them again. That's not your decision to make. You took away her agency when you built this relationship on surveillance and lies. The least you can do is give her back the truth. Catherine, please. I'm giving you until tonight. You tell her, or I will. Let me do it properly. Let me end things with Patricia first, return her money, get all the surveillance equipment out of the house. Give me a few days to. No. I stood up. Tonight, Sarah gets home from her shift at midnight. You tell her then, or when she walks through that door, I will. What about Emily? The question stopped me. Sweet Emily, who adored the man she called Dad, who had no idea her family was about to shatter. Emily is Sarah's concern now. Not yours. Not anymore. I walked toward the stairs, then paused. For what it's worth, Ryan, I think you did fall in love with them. I think that part is real. But love without honesty isn't love. It's just another form of manipulation. I left him standing in the kitchen and went back upstairs to Eleanor. How'd it go? She asked. He confessed everything. I collapsed onto my couch. He's telling Sarah tonight. Do you believe him? That he'll actually do it? I thought about Ryan's face, the genuine anguish I'd seen there. Yes, I think he will. Because he knows if he doesn't, I will. Eleanor squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. Then why do I feel like I just destroyed my daughter's life? Because the truth hurts. But lies hurt worse, in the long run. We sat together in silence, waiting for evening to come. Waiting for the moment when Sarah's world would end and maybe, somehow begin again. I couldn't eat dinner that night. Neither could Emily, though she didn't know why the air in the house felt so heavy, so charged with unspoken dread. Grandma, are you sick? She asked, pushing her mac and cheese around her plate. Just tired, sweetheart. Ryan sat across from us, barely touching his food either. He looked like a man awaiting execution. Which, in a way, he was. At 7:30, he took Emily upstairs for her bath and bedtime routine. I heard him reading to her, Charlotte's Web, Emily's current favorite. His voice carried down the stairs, gentle and patient, exactly the way a father should sound. It made everything worse. By 8:30, Emily was asleep. Ryan came back downstairs and sat in the living room, staring at nothing. I stayed in my suite, watching the clock. Eleanor had gone home hours ago, making me promise to call her the moment Sarah knew. The house settled into an eerie quiet, broken only by the foghorns from the bay and the occasional car passing on the street outside. At 11:47 p.m., headlights swept across the living room windows. Sarah's Honda pulled into the driveway. I heard Ryan stand up, heard his footsteps to the front door. I came downstairs slowly, positioning myself near the kitchen where I could hear but not be immediately visible. This was Ryan's confession to make, but I needed to be there. For Sarah, the front door opened. Hey, you're still up? Sarah's voice, tired but warm. I thought you'd be asleep. Sarah, we need to talk. Something in Ryan's tone made Sarah pause. I could picture her face, the smile fading, the nurse's instinct kicking in, the ability to read when something is very, very wrong. What happened? Is Emily okay? Emily's fine. She's asleep. Can we sit down? You're scaring me, Ryan. I know. I'm sorry. Please, just sit. I heard them move to the living room, the couch creaking as they sat. A long silence. I haven't been honest with you, Ryan said finally. About who I am, about how we met, about everything. What are you talking about? Do you remember Marcus Morrison? Another silence. Longer this time. My ex-boyfriend from college? Sarah's voice was wary. The one who died? Ryan, what does Marcus have to do with anything? His mother hired me 4 years ago. She hired me to investigate you. I heard Sarah stand up abruptly. What? Patricia Morrison came to my private investigation agency. She wanted proof that you'd cheated on Marcus, that you'd driven him to his death. She paid me $500,000 to get close to you, to find evidence that would destroy you. The silence that followed was absolute. I could barely breathe. You're a private investigator. Sarah's voice was flat, emotionless. The voice she probably used in the when telling families their loved one didn't make it. Yes. And you engineered our meeting. At that tech conference. Yes. Our entire relationship. Our marriage. All of it was surveillance. At first, yes. At first. Sarah laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. At first. How long, Ryan? How long before it stopped being surveillance? Sarah, how long? Her voice cracked into a shout. I don't know. 6 months? A year? It wasn't a switch that flipped, it was gradual. I started to actually care about you, then to love you, and then I couldn't imagine my life without you and Emily. Don't you dare say her name. Sarah's voice dropped to something cold and dangerous. Don't you dare bring Emily into this. She's my daughter too. She's not your daughter. You're a stranger who lied his way into our lives. I heard something crash. A lamp, maybe, or a vase. 3 years, Sarah continued, her voice shaking. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of Emily calling you dad. 3 years of me trusting you, loving you, building a life with you. All of it based on a lie. Not all of it. My feelings for you, for Emily, those are real. Real? You don't even know what that word means. Real is what I gave you every single day. Real is what I felt when you proposed. Real is what Emily feels when she looks at you like you hung the fucking moon. I'd never heard Sarah curse like that. Not once in her entire life. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, Ryan said. I know what I've done is unforgivable. But I need you to know that I love you. I really do love you. Love. Sarah's laugh was hollow. You've been spying on me for 3 years. Do you have cameras in our bedroom? In the bathroom? Have you been watching me this whole time? No. God, no. I stopped the active surveillance over a year ago. I've been sending Patricia false reports, telling her I need more time, stalling. You've been taking her money for a year while lying to her too. Jesus Christ, is there anyone you haven't lied to? Your mother knows. I closed my eyes. Here it comes. What? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Catherine discovered the truth. She saw the basement. She confronted me this afternoon. She's the one who told me I had to tell you tonight. Footsteps. Coming fast toward the kitchen. I stepped out into the light. Sarah stood in the doorway, still in her scrubs, her face a mask of betrayal. You knew? How long have you known? A few days. I needed to be sure before. A few days. A few days you've been watching me walk around this house, kiss my husband goodnight, tuck my daughter into bed, and you said nothing. I gave Ryan the chance to tell you himself. I thought you deserved to hear it from him. What I deserved was the truth. Immediately, not days later after God knows what could have happened. She was right. I knew she was right. I'm sorry, Sarah. I thought I was doing the right thing. Sarah looked between Ryan and me, her eyes wild. I can't. I need to not be in this house right now. She grabbed her keys from the kitchen counter. Sarah, wait, Ryan started. Don't follow me. Don't call me. Don't do anything. I need to think. What about Emily? Sarah's hand froze on the doorknob. For a long moment, she didn't move. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. She's asleep. She's safe. That's all that matters right now. The door opened, closed, her car started, drove away. Ryan and I stood in the kitchen, The wreckage of our family scattered around us. She'll come back, right? Ryan's voice was small, pleading. She has to come back. Emily's here. I don't know, I said honestly. Ryan sank into a chair, his head in his hands. I've lost them. I've lost everything. Part of me wanted to comfort him. The part that had watched him be a good father to Emily, that had seen genuine love in his eyes when he looked at Sarah. But the larger part, the mother part, couldn't forgive him. Wouldn't forgive him. You should pack a bag, I said quietly. When Sarah comes back, she'll probably want you gone. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. I went upstairs to check on Emily. She was sound asleep, her nightlight casting soft shadows across her face, her stuffed rabbit clutched in her arms. So innocent, so unaware that her world was about to shatter. I sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her hair back, and cried silently. Sarah didn't come home that night. She didn't answer my calls or texts. At 3 a.m., Ryan finally went down to the basement, not to the surveillance equipment, but to the fold-out couch he'd installed there months ago for when he worked late. At 7:15 a.m., Emily bounded into my suite, full of morning energy. Grandma, is it Pancake Saturday? I'd completely forgotten. Saturday mornings, Ryan always made pancakes. Not today, sweetie. How about I make you some eggs? Where's Dad? My heart broke. He had to go out early. Work emergency. On Saturday? Yes, honey. Come on, let's get you some breakfast. Emily followed me downstairs, chattering about the birthday party she was going to that afternoon. I made scrambled eggs and tried to act normal while my phone buzzed with increasingly worried texts from Eleanor. At 9:30, Sarah's car pulled into the driveway. She looked awful. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair unbrushed, still wearing yesterday's scrubs. She'd been driving all night, I realized. Or sitting somewhere, trying to process the implosion of her life. Emmy, go play in your room for a bit, okay? Emily looked between us, sensing something wrong but not understanding what. Is Mom okay? I'm fine, baby. Just tired from work. Go on, I'll come up in a minute. Emily hesitated, then trudged upstairs. Sarah sat down at the kitchen table. Is he here? In the basement. She nodded slowly. I've been thinking all night. Driving up Highway 1, just driving and thinking. And I should divorce him. Immediately. Get a restraining order. Report him to the police for stalking. You should. But Emily. Her voice broke. Emily loves him, Mom. She really loves him. She's never known her biological father. He split before she was born. Ryan's been her dad for 3 years. If I tear him away from her, it'll destroy her. She'll recover. Kids are resilient, are they? Really? Sarah looked at me with those haunted eyes. I work in the ER. I see what trauma does to kids. I see them years later, still broken, still suffering. How do I choose between protecting myself and protecting my daughter? It was the impossible question. The one I'd been grappling with since I discovered the truth. What do you want to do? I asked. Sarah was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was hollow. I want to wake up and have this all be a nightmare. I want my husband to actually be my husband, not a private investigator hired to destroy me. I want my marriage to be real. But it's not. No, it's not. She wiped her eyes. But maybe some of it was real. Toward the end, he said he fell in love with me. Do you think that's possible? Can someone start with a lie and end with truth? I don't know, honey. I honestly don't know. I need to talk to him. Alone. Can you take Emily to that birthday party? It's at 1 p.m., goes until 4. That gives me 3 hours. Are you sure you want to be alone with him? He's not violent, Mom. He's a liar and a manipulator, but he's not violent. I need to hear everything. All of it, and then I need to decide what happens next. I called the birthday girl's mother and confirmed I'd drop Emily off. Then I helped Emily get ready, braiding her hair, helping her wrap the present we'd bought earlier that week. Where's Dad? Emily asked again as we got in my car. He'll be here when you get back, sweetie. Promise? I couldn't promise that. I had no idea what Sarah would decide. Your mom and dad love you very much. Remember that, okay? Emily nodded, but her eyes were worried. I dropped her at the party, a trampoline place in Soma, filled with screaming kids and pop music, and sat in my car, staring at my phone. 3 hours. In 3 hours, Emily would need to be picked up, and our family would either be starting to heal or completely broken. I texted Eleanor, "Sarah's talking to him now. Don't know what will happen." Her response came immediately, "Whatever she decides, we support her." That's all we can do. I drove to a coffee shop and sat there for 3 hours, unable to drink my latte, unable to focus on anything except the clock. At 3:45, I drove back to pick up Emily. She was exhausted, happy, covered in sweat from jumping. "Did you have fun, sweetie?" "It was awesome. Can we go there for my birthday?" "We'll see." The drive home took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of Emily chattering about the party while my stomach twisted into knots. When we pulled into the driveway, both Sarah's and Ryan's cars were still there. We walked into the house. It was quiet. "Mom?" I called out. "Sarah?" "In here, Mom." The living room. I took Emily's hand and we walked in together. Sarah and Ryan sat on opposite ends of the couch. Both had been crying. The air was thick with tension and grief. Emily let go of my hand and ran to Ryan. "Dad, you're back." Ryan's face crumpled. He pulled Emily into a tight hug, his eyes squeezed shut. Sarah watched them, her expression unreadable. "Emily, honey," Sarah said softly. "Can you go upstairs and wash up? I need to talk to Grandma for a minute. But I want to tell Dad about the party." "In a few minutes, baby. Please." Something in Sarah's tone made Emily obey. She gave Ryan one more hug and went upstairs. Sarah waited until we heard Emily's bedroom door close. "I've made a decision," she said. "I'm not divorcing him," Sarah said that day. "Not yet." Ryan's head snapped up, hope flashing across his face. "But," Sarah continued, her voice like steel, "if you want any chance at all of keeping this family, there are conditions. Non-negotiable conditions." "Anything," Ryan said immediately. "First, you return every penny Patricia Morrison paid you. All of it. I don't care if you have to take out loans or sell everything you own." "Done." "Second, you cut all contact with Patricia. Permanently. You tell her the investigation is over and you want nothing more to do with her." "Okay." "Third, you quit the private investigation business entirely. I won't live with someone who makes a living invading people's privacy." Ryan nodded, his throat working. "Fourth, you see a therapist. Weekly. I want documentation of every session. You figure out why you thought any of this was acceptable." "I will." "And fifth, this is the big one. Ryan, you get 2 years. 2 years of absolute transparency. No locked doors. No secret phones. No unexplained absences. One lie, even a small one, and I file for divorce immediately. Do you understand?" "Yes." Sarah looked at me. "Mom, I need you to stay. I need you here as a witness. As Emily's protection. Can you do that?" "Of course." "Then it's settled." Sarah stood up. "Ryan, you're sleeping in the basement. I'm not ready to share a bed with you. I don't know when I will be." That was 2 years ago. The first 6 months were brutal. Sarah barely spoke to Ryan except about Emily's schedule and household logistics. Ryan moved through the house like a ghost, desperate to prove himself, terrified of making a single mistake. He sold his car, cashed out his 401k, took out a personal loan, and returned $487,000 to Patricia Morrison. The remaining $13,000 he'd already spent had to come from selling his expensive camera equipment and electronics. He met with Patricia one final time at a lawyer's office. I didn't go, but Sarah told me later what he'd said to her. "Your son's death was a tragedy, Mrs. Morrison, but Sarah didn't cause it. She left him because he was hurting her. She deserves to be happy. And I'm sorry I ever agreed to help you hurt her." Patricia threatened to sue him. Threatened to expose him, but her lawyer apparently advised her that going public would only reveal her own vindictive obsession. She took the money and disappeared from our lives. The basement was transformed. Ryan dismantled every piece of surveillance equipment, took down every photograph. Sarah and I watched as he loaded it all into his car and drove it to a storage facility, then gave Sarah the only key. "If you ever want proof that it's really gone, you can check," he told her. "Anytime." The space became a playroom for Emily, filled with books and art supplies and a small indoor climbing wall Ryan installed himself. Therapy was harder. Ryan's sessions brought up things he'd buried for years: his parents' deaths, The gambling addiction that had spiraled out of control. The desperation that made Patricia's offer seem like salvation rather than damnation. I told myself it was just business, he said one night at family dinner, 9 months into the 2-year trial. Sarah had finally agreed to let him eat with us again. I convinced myself that if Sarah was innocent, no harm would be done. I didn't think about what it meant to build a relationship on surveillance. To fall in love with someone while secretly documenting their life. And now? Sarah asked. Now I know I'm capable of terrible things. That scares me, so I have to be vigilant. Every day, I have to choose to be honest. To be worthy of you and Emily. It wasn't a Hollywood redemption. There was no single moment where Sarah forgave him and everything went back to normal. It was gradual, painful, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back progress. But there were signs. 14 months in, Ryan had a business emergency at 9 p.m. A client's server had crashed. He grabbed his laptop and headed for the basement. Sarah tensed immediately. I'm just going to work on this where I won't disturb Emily, Ryan said quickly. But if you want to come down with me, or if you'd rather I stay up here at the kitchen table. The basement is fine, Sarah said quietly. Just leave the door open? Of course. Small victories. 18 months in, Emily had a nightmare. She ran to Ryan's room in the basement, crying about monsters. Ryan carried her back upstairs, but when he reached Sarah's bedroom door, he paused. Can I? Sarah pulled back the covers. Come on. They sat on either side of Emily, holding her hands until she fell back asleep. When Ryan stood to leave, Sarah caught his wrist. Stay, she whispered, just for tonight. He did. 2 years and 3 days after Sarah's ultimatum, we sat in the living room, Sarah, Ryan, Emily, and me. Emily was doing homework, oblivious to the significance of the moment. It's been 2 years, Sarah said. Ryan went very still. You've kept every promise. Seen your therapist every week. Been completely transparent. Quit the pie business. Become the man you should have been from the beginning. Sarah, I'm still angry sometimes. I'll probably always have moments where I remember how this started and I want to scream. But I also remember the past 2 years. How hard you've worked. How you've shown up for Emily, for me, for this family. She took a breath. I'm not going to divorce you, Ryan. But I'm also not ready to renew our vows or pretend the past didn't happen. We're going to keep going, one day at a time. And if you can live with that. Ryan pulled her into a hug. Sarah stiffened for just a moment, then relaxed into it. I can live with that, he said. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance I didn't deserve. Emily looked up from her homework. Why are you guys being weird? We're not being weird, Sarah laughed, wiping her eyes. We're just happy. Oh, okay. Can someone help me with my math? Last week, a letter arrived. The return address was Atherton Patricia Morrison's city. Sarah went pale when she saw it. Ryan offered to throw it away unopened. No, Sarah said. I need to know. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Dear Sarah, I owe you an apology I can never fully make. I spent 4 years trying to destroy you because I couldn't face my own failure as a mother. Marcus's problems started long before he met you. You tried to help him, and when you couldn't, you protected yourself by leaving. That took courage. I'm in therapy now, learning to grieve properly, to accept responsibility. I won't ask for your forgiveness, I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I hope you and your family find peace. Patricia Morrison. Sarah read it twice, then carefully folded it and put it in a drawer. Do you forgive her? I asked. I don't know, Sarah said. Maybe someday, but not today. Today, our family is different than it was 2 years ago. We're more cautious, more aware of how fragile trust can be. But we're also stronger. We've walked through fire and come out the other side. Emily still calls Ryan, Dad. Ryan still reads to her every night, still goes to every soccer game. Sarah still works in the still comes home exhausted and determined to make a difference. And I still live on the 3rd floor, watching over them all. The basement door stays open now. Always. Some families are born perfect. Others have to be rebuilt, piece by painful piece, on a foundation of truth instead of lies. We're the second kind, and that's okay.